Okay, so I always like to before we jump into the hows, I like to think a little bit about why and my approach to how we're going to talk about this. So for me, what I think we're trying to accomplish with pre-orders, and I know we have different types of businesses on. I think in general, the things we need to do is we need to let people know what we have available. We need to provide some opportunity, some way for them to know, for them to let you know ahead of time, so that they know what you have and they can also tell you what they want. Having a way for you to keep all that straight, so what some sort of record of something, and, and then finally, not requiring the degree in computer education. That's the low tech, or computer engineering. That's the low tech version of this. Yes, I am recording, Suzanne. Um, so with that being said, the way that I think that I'd like to approach it is going to be giving you different examples of how we're going to do that, and I'll explain that in a second. But I think understanding why it is that we are trying to offer this helps a little bit for us to strategize how we want to offer the pre-ordering. The first couple here, these are all related to the current situation. It's a public health related thing. We're trying to get people diverted from normal shopping patterns, and also speeding up the transactions, and if we can, limiting the amount of contact that happens. I think one thing to keep in mind is we're shooting for small steps. Um, let's see. Oh, I think somebody asked why you weren't seeing it. It's because for some reason this is diverted. Here we go. You should be able to see it now. For some reason it wasn't showing. It was showing it just to the panelists. Yep, no problem. Anytime you have any issues, jump in the chat over here and let me know. So the other one here, I think, is that there are a lot of customers who are preferring this right now for a feeling of safety, a feeling of doing their part for social distancing, et cetera. So there is definitely a reason right now in this moment to be thinking about offering pre-ordering. These other ones, these orange ones, for me, are actual things that apply regardless of whether we were in the current situation that we're in. And that is that being able to, having knowledge to plan is a powerful thing. So I know how much I need to bring on a given day. I know if I sell a certain number of products, I need to be thinking about having more of those in stock. And the more that I can not have to wait to see if people walk in to buy stuff, the more that gives me a little bit of power ahead of time. I think it encourages people's commitment to purchase. I think people sometimes think it's a nice idea to go down to the store or go down to the market and buy something, and then that day comes and they never, they don't actually go. I think if you can order ahead of time and commit a little bit ahead of time, the odds of being able to draw people to make a purchase or to come out are a little bit better. And the last one here is just you might be able to expand your customer base if there are people who are into pre-ordering who aren't necessarily into the browsing side of things as much. So I mentioned, I think regardless of where you are in the process, so we're going to talk about very simple and we're going to talk about a little bit more complicated. I think right now, in an era where we don't necessarily get as much direct face-to-face communication, thinking about starting and or promoting an email list is a really good idea. Now, what that can be as simple as people give you their email address on a clipboard, or they tell you to you as they check out, or they tell it to you on the phone, and you just write that down and you send an email out to all those people the way that you would if you sent a group email to your family or something like that. You could go more advanced and talk about some of the MailChimps and the Constant Contacts or those types of programs. But thinking about generating that email list, the best time to start that was 10 years ago. I was talking to my colleague, Katie Bowman from K-Card. The best time to start that was 10 years ago, but like a tree, the next best time to plant that is now. So the more that you can get that going, and ask for people's email addresses if they'd like to get updates on products and things like that from you, and telling you won't spam them, now is a good time to think about doing that regardless. Also, starting social media pages. If you don't have a Facebook page yet, this would be a great time to start one. There's a lot of people inside, a lot of people on computers looking to connect. And if you already are doing that, thinking about ways to put more time and energy into promoting that. You're going to see that it's an important part of this pre-ordering thing is getting the word out somehow. And so email and social media are two ways of doing that. I think thinking hard and critically about what your strongest networks are in this moment. who are your biggest supporters and cheerleaders, because as you start to build your promotion, as you start to offer pre-ordering and those types of things, those networks and those cheerleaders are going to be an important part. And what I mean by that is something as simple, if you have a social media page and there's a couple of people who are, big fans of yours, asking them to actually share stuff out, or asking them specifically to reach out to some people that they may know and share information about what you're selling or about what you're doing. This could be a moment for that. And the last one here is just get ready to try some new things, because if you're tuning into a low tech pre-ordering webinar, you're probably maybe not a huge tech person, and that's absolutely fine. But so get prepared to try new things. That's all I will say. We're in strange times and new times in a lot of ways, and so new things are going to come. So for me, the way that I'm going to approach showing you this is examples. So concrete examples, but they're not what I would call pure solutions. And what I mean by that is you don't have to say, okay, I'm only going to use the things from option 1. I'm only going to use the elements from option 1 for my solution. You could say, okay, I like this element from option 1 that I'm going to show you in a second, and I like this element of option 3, and I'm going to combine those into a system that works for me. So you're going to take, the scrap pieces from different components and build your own project. Now, it could very well be that option 1 or 2 or the ones we're going to talk about fits you perfectly. But just realize this is not a prescription for choose one option. It's mix and match out of that. These exist across a range of complexities. Nevertheless, we still need to, again, this is what we're trying to do through pre-ordering. We need to address somehow giving information out, how people can place orders and or pay, if that's something you want to get involved with, and then staying organized. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work through 4 different options. 4 I'm not going to go super in depth on because I've already covered it in a much longer format, but as we go through here, I'm going to try to address each of those concerns, and you'll see the first one is very, very analog, very, very simple. Option 2 adds a little more complexity, option 3 a little more after that. Okay. Again, if you have questions or comments or anything, feel free to drop them over here in the chat. Thank you all for tuning in. Yeah, I am recording this. This will be available on the back end, and I'll email that out to everyone as well. So let's jump right in here. So option 1 is the most simple that we all should be familiar with, and that is paper, pencil, and phone. And so the mechanism for the order being placed is that a customer is going to call you. You're going to then physically write down what they order, as well as their contact information, and let them know about the pickup details. The person's just going to pay you in person like they would in a normal pickup. The difference being, you can then take the items that they order, you can pack them up, have them ready to go. They can either come up and you can tell them that they can call if you have a shop or you have a booth or whatever, have them call and you can have somebody run out to them. Again, this seems really dumb, or this maybe seems like super, super basic, but my main point here is we don't have to have super high levels of technology in order to accomplish this pre-ordering thing. Okay, so if we jump down into this table here, these are the main considerations. So how am I going to get customer information out to customers about what I have for sale and how to reach me? So I think part of this could be that if you're able to get the phone number out, you could have a business answering machine somehow to be able to communicate, okay, this week we have X, Y, and Z thing available. After the beep, leave your order with the phone number and we'll get back to you. You could you could also have the option of, if you can, again, get people to contact you, get people to call you, you could just read off, depending on how many items you have available, you could read off a list to each caller. Now, this is obviously not the most efficient way of doing it, but it is really simple. A couple of other ideas here. If you have some champions, or if you have a network of people that are used to making phone calls more so than they're used to sharing social media or something like that, you could consider the very old school method of the phone tree, where you ask, you know that you're marketing your stuff in good faith, and so you're not trying to spam people, but you want people to know, and so you ask people if you're selling food or if you're selling some item like that, to spread that out to their friends. Again, this is trying to tie both of our hands behind our back with as far as technology goes, and just go as dead simple as we can. Notes here, and this is going to be similar across all of the different options, you're going to have to keep things updated regularly. So if you're doing an answering machine, you might have to do that, get that out, change that message weekly or however often to reflect what your stock is or to reflect whatever's coming in. I work a lot with farmers markets and direct marketing groups, and that's all like that. A lot of my thoughts are related to that. And so, for instance, if I have a weekly pickup at a Saturday farmers market, I'm going to need to change my answering machine thing probably weekly to update stock. I'm going to have to keep up with that, but it is an option. Or you can obviously just have people call you straight up and order. How are you going to collect payment? Again, in this method, we're just doing customers can pay exactly like they were like normal. The main difference here is they can commit to purchasing ahead of time. You can have it all assembled in the bag and just they can pay and go in and out, super simple. I'll note here, if you aren't taking credit cards yet, this might be a time to think about that. And again, you don't have to take the credit card as part of the pre-order. You can just have the option of credit card at the booth. So that's just another angle on this. Again, this is the most dead simple without any additional technology. How are you going to keep things organized? Well, this is, again, the analog, old-fashioned way, paper and pencil. You might use ledgers, you might use just a notebook, you might use something like that. A big important note here is you're going to need to keep tabs on your inventory manually so you don't oversell the products that you're offering. And this is going to be the case with multiple of these options because because we're simplifying and we're not using a tool that is specially designed for this purpose. You're going to need to do a little bit of work that you might be able to automate otherwise. So Lori says it may be important that you would get the phone number so you could call people to remind them of pickup. Yes, I think that's definitely the case. I would encourage, so in this contact information thing, and we're going to talk about on a Google form later some of the elements that you might want to collect regardless, but in that contact information, yeah, I think a phone number and email address are good ideas. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this is the dead simplest. Again, this is the blue one. So we're going to move on to option 2. We're going to add a little bit of complexity, not a ton, and hopefully make things maybe a little bit easier. At any point along the way, if you think, whoop, this got too complicated for me, just bail out, go back to the previous option, and think about how you want to approach it based on those things. Okay. So option 2, this would add the elements to option 1, where the customer calls in and places an order. But in this case, you might do the physical recording on a computer or in an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. The main thing with this is you can then save it, you can have better records, you can do all that kind of stuff. So that's one layer of complexity you might add. The other here is you might add the option to accept a credit card. This is through things like Square, Clover, PayPal, those types of services. Now, I'm not trying to add too much complexity at once here, but you could offer, okay, somebody calls in and says, I would like X, Y, and Z thing. And you say, okay, would you like to pay now over the phone with a credit card? And if they say yes, you can actually go manually enter the credit card information into the Square or into whatever interface you're using and process that payment. And now there's a prepaid and pre-ordered. You don't have to do that. You could just offer the credit card option at checkout. So, and I'm going to show you how, actually, I'll just pop out real quick and show you how easy it is. So, and this is, let's sign back in here. So this is something similar from what I did on the online store webinar. And so I'll make sure everybody gets a link to that. But I'm in Square here. I've already signed up. I've already linked all my accounts and all that kind of fun stuff. Go to full screen. And I'm going to click on the virtual terminal here. And so if somebody says, yes, I'd like this, 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 and this, and I say, okay, your total is going to be $22. Would you like to pay now with a credit card or pay at pickup? I can click here. I can take payment. And now I can enter in. Now, if I want to just do a quick charge, I say, okay, $22. And this is just the other details that you can set up later, but you can just process it simply as and then put in their credit card information and you're done. I'm not going to go super deep down this rabbit hole because I do have an entire recorded webinar about Square and setting up an online store, and this is covered within that. But this is the dead simplest way at least with Square, to be able to process those payments. So again, this could be on the phone, they're ordering the items, and I'm answering the phone and saying, okay, would you like to pay over the phone with a credit card? Okay, so I'm going to maybe pop back over to here. I think we had a question roll in. Any suggestions on my old order Amish vendor to collect payments? Yeah, so if there is like if they use phones, they'll use phones. I would probably defer to that option 1 item. But then as far as collecting payments goes, that's a variable. It complicates a lot of things. But I would say if you can still process cash, but you want to make sure that you have extra precautions for that. And that would be something like having a separate person accepting the cash from delivering the goods. That person who's handling the cash wearing gloves, regularly sanitizing, and that kind of stuff. Those would be some of the precautions I would take. If you want to, anybody is more than welcome to follow up with me, and I can get you in contact. If I can help you, I will, but I'll also work with lots of great different organizations, Kentucky Department of Ag, Community Farm Alliance, K-Card, all these different groups, to make sure. So my email address is over there in case you want to follow up with me, but that's how, that's how I would recommend thinking about processing that. So let's see here. So yeah, if you drop stuff in the chat or in the Q&A, I'll periodically pop over to it and and try to address it. So let's see here. So how am I going to give my customers information? This is one of these, again, these central key questions. Is I can have the best pre-order system in the world set up, but if no one knows to call it, no one knows how to contact it, that's going to be a problem. So I think all the items from option 1, I would start thinking about adding more and more complexity with the social media posts. And what I mean by that is nicer graphics, putting a little bit more time into regularly scheduling these things, multiple platforms maybe. So think about posting to Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to show you some examples of how I might communicate this information out, again, across a spectrum of difficulty levels. Ask other groups to share. So this is on social media, on email. If you have not started an email list, start that as soon as you possibly can, because that direct contact is going to be one of your key aspects to being able to get information out to people, to let them know it's time to order and or what they can order. Again, you're going to have to do weekly management of this kind of this stuff. That's not going to really change across any of these options. So as far as collecting payment, customers can either pay at market, or they can actually prepay. We just covered that here. I think giving customers flexibility is great. It's another way to limit contact. And the other thing, that's an additional level of pre-commitment on the part of people who are calling you. Let's see, keeping orders organized. This is, again, you might add the computer, the Excel spreadsheet, whatever you feel most comfortable with. But computer files are much easier to share and analyze later, particularly as you're doing record keeping and you're trying to have a sense of what you sold. That's obviously a good way to keep that information straight. Again, keeping tabs on your inventory levels, because the only thing that has a counter of how much inventory you have in this kind of system is you, because we're trying to limit the technological capacity or complexity. Okay, so I'm going to jump in. I'm going to try to get out of these theoretical ones and just hop over into to demonstrate. This next one here is one that maybe some of you are interested in, and this is this Google form idea. Google form, you're going to provide a direct customer link where they can go and directly shop, look at the items you have available. Now you have to, with a Google form, and we're going to look at them here in a second, you're essentially building a simple survey, but we're using it for the purpose of selling goods. So you just have to keep that in mind. Google Forms is not a specialized tool for selling stuff, but we can definitely adapt it to use it ourselves, and it's much simpler than some of the online store components. Again, you can have the perfect form set up. But if you don't have a way to get the link out to people, you don't really have necessarily a good, you're not going to have people come in pouring in because they found your obscure Google form somewhere in the corner of the internet. Um, and then this last one here, I think it's a good thing about this is that it allows this to happen at the customer's convenience. So if you establish that this is where orders are going to come in for the online store and people have that link and they're able to go back to it, that's a really convenient way to do that. Again, your form is still going to need it probably at least weekly maintenance, if not more than that. And to Lori's point from before, be sure that you ask for enough information. So if you're going to need a phone number to follow up or an email to follow up, make sure you ask for that. And again, we're going to go into Google Forms here in a second, and I'm going to show you. I'm just trying to prime you so that you're thinking about how you might use this. How can you collect payment? Well, you can actually allow customers to select how they prefer to pay. Now, Google Forms is not an e-commerce platform, and so you can't accept payments through Google Forms, but you can give the option of, okay, I want to pay cash at pickup, or I want to pay using a card online, or sorry, a pre-order, and then have the person, you can call them or have them call you, whatever, in order to process that payment. So again, I'll show you in a second. It's kind of hard to describe it in the abstract, but giving the option of how is it that you'd like to pay, that allows you to plan a little bit too for market day or for your pickup day or whatever it is you're doing. You may, if you want to try to do this, try to include a message encouraging them to prepay for health reasons or because it makes it easier on you or whatever you need to, however you want to describe the reason. Or if you prefer a different method of payment, encouraging that. But don't forget that you need to tell people sometimes how to do that. As far as keeping orders organized, forms will actually generate a nice little spreadsheet of information for you that you don't have to type in the order necessarily. Now, it all depends on if you set it up in a way that gives you information that you need, but it is a nice way to automate some of that process. It requires a tiny bit more complexity as far as technological knowledge, but overall, it is going to be a much, much simpler thing than like an e-commerce platform. One last note, again, forms will not solve your inventory issues. We are trading simplicity for limitations. It's not necessarily designed specifically for this, but it is free, and you are able to use it really in a pretty straightforward way. So just being careful not to oversell. That means you might have to go in and monitor it. It depends. If you have a large wave of people trying to buy stuff from your Google form, it's a possibility you're going to leave some people disappointed because you sold out of all the jam that you had to sell. On the flip side, it could be that you just have a handful of people come in and it's fine. So just managing and keeping an eye on that inventory is going to be part of your process here. Okay, and the last one here, I'm not going to go super in depth on because I do have, and again, this text is the same. I didn't update this. I do have some notes here, but there is a full online store webinar recording. It's quite in depth. That it kind of gives an overview of this, but this is just the next step in complexity. It allows you to send out a link to one place that tracks your inventory and has pictures and has all the items, and you can do it where you can process payments inside of it, and it spits out an order for you. It's very convenient, but it might be too complex for you. I think the great reports and outputs that it generates are really nice. And you do have some backup protection on not overselling into too much, overselling your inventory. Again, this is just, if you want to go back and review this later, you can, but the overall picture of the online store we covered pretty thoroughly last week, and there's a recording available of that, and that's where the link is. I'll be sure to send this out in the follow-up email to everyone who registered. Okay, so now we get to the part where people are, I think more interested in seeing the nuts and bolts of how to do this. So first, I want to show you an example of a Google form. Then I'm going to show you how to create one of your own. I'm going to show you some example results from our form. I'm going to show you some ideas for potentially sharing your product list. Again, that key communication component of getting the information out to your clients so that they can do whatever steps they need to, calling you or getting online to place orders. And I've already shown you the accepting the payments for online pre-orders over the phone. So again, I'm going to pop over here into my browser window, and I'm going to maximize this. And I think we covered this. So I'm going to close it. And so this is a little simple online store form that I have created. Now, the way that I did that is I went to Google and I typed in Google Forms, just like that. And you can see I've been here before. I'm signed in already. If you don't have a Google account, you as the creator of the store will need to create a Google account. But people do not need to have a Google account in order to place an order through the form, if that makes sense. So I clicked on there and I selected go to Google Forms because I'm just going to use it for personal. The business is just more technologically complex. So go to Google Forms. And now this is one that I created. So I'm going to again show you here. And I would like for you all to actually help me with this demonstration. So I'm going to go into the chat and I'm going to drop this link. Okay. And I would like for you all to click on it and go and place some orders on there for me. I'm going to work through the steps here in just a second. Let's see. Try to find the Q&A. There it is. Okay, I think we're okay. Cool. So yeah, if you all could again go to that link and fill out and actually place some orders. So as we scroll down here, we are currently in the editing view. Okay, and all of this would be completely blank. And I'm going to set up a new one so you can see what it looks like from the start. But I added in this title, I added in this description, I added in an image here. I'm going to do a different image here in a second. And then I added all these different form fields. And so I did this in a way because I wanted it to spit out so that I could sort by last name so I could have the orders really easy to organize. So first name, last name, phone number. Now you notice these little asterisks here. Those are required fields. We've all had this issue. You know, you try to buy something online or you try to purchase whatever, and it's like, oh, you didn't put your full address in. Requiring these is important if you need the information, because if you do need that, like if you need an email address to communicate with someone and you don't make it required, well, they can submit the form with no email address. They are now under the impression that they have placed an order and you don't have a way to get back with them. So just making sure that you check things that are actually required. Down here, I've got some different items, and I'll come back to this maybe in a few minutes and show you how you can, because you can just add images and stuff like that. And you feel free to steal any language or anything that you see from this this form. So the idea here is this is the way that you're going to see it. Now, if we go up here to this little eyeball and click that, this is the preview. So pop back over here. So if you hover, you can see it just says preview. Again, this is all available for free through Google. So if I click that preview button, it's going to take me over to what my guests are going to see. You can see there's nothing over here in this weird menu thing sliding down with me. This is exactly what it's going to look like when people go to order. And so you can see I haven't added images for everything. I'm trying to not spoil, provide a little bit of excitement to everybody to show you how to add images. One issue that I have, and maybe there's people out there who have figured out a way to work around this, within the structure of Google Forms, I can't think of a good way to indicate how much of each item in just one question. And so what I have here is the checklist of all the different items that they're looking for. And then down here, I've asked them to indicate how much of each they're interested in. And so example, and I gave them an example, 2 pounds of broccoli and 1 chicken. Now, obviously there's this, again, I'm biased toward farmers markets in my work. So that's the main things that I'm thinking of, but you could easily have a cutting board and a dining room table and a chair or something like that. if you were doing woodworking, or if you are a value-added producer, or if you are, yeah, any number of different things. Now down here, I mentioned this was an option. How do you prefer to pay? Now, if you're only going to accept cash, okay. If you want to only accept credit card as prepay, that's fine too. And then the last one here, this is just one example of, can we add you to our email contact list for future item lists? I like to ask permission. You may not be as scrupulous. So that's just something to keep in mind. But when I ask them to give me their email address, it is to communicate about the order, but it's also potentially as a future point of contact. So this is great, Brett, that you have this one that you spent time getting ready and you have messed around with before. So what does this thing look like if we get started? So when we get started, I'm in the forms thing. Again, let me go back and just do this from the very scratch. So that way, I'm just going to search for Google Forms. And I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to go to Google Forms. And for you, if you haven't done this before, this will be completely blank. Okay, now if you want to use a template to start, you can. I'm just going to use a blank one and show you what it looks like, just because that's as simple as it goes. Okay, the scariest thing to a writer is what, the blank page or something like that. Same way with the form. It's kind of intimidating until you get started. So order for pre-order from ABC Farms. Please place your order below. Now, obviously, you can go in and adapt this and edit this. Now, these are just going to be your long series of questions. Right now, we don't have any questions. And so we're going to go here and we're going to say, what's your first name? Now, Google is very smart. It's much smarter than me. As a result, it will automatically guess what type of answer field you're looking for. And so I said first name, it says a lot of times first name is associated with short answers, and it's exactly correct, okay? If it weren't correct, you could just go here and select the type of answer that you're looking for. Again, we are adapting a free survey instrument, a free survey tool to be able to accept pre-orders, but it's pretty darn effective in my opinion, as a low-tech option. Okay, so this is short answer text is where they're gonna answer. Remember I said requirement. If I don't have a name on the order, I'm gonna be in big trouble, so I'm gonna require this, okay? Now I have two options here. I'm just gonna go ahead and add another question. And in this case, I'm gonna do last name. And it's gonna say, I'm very smart. Look, this one's also a short answer. Now let's say I screwed up and this is not what I want. I can delete this. It goes away just like that. This is to duplicate it. So in this case, because it's a pretty similar field, I might just go ahead and hit duplicate and change last name. But nothing about this is, you can always fix this. Okay, and so let's keep adding. This is going to be my item list. And so please select which items you'd like to order to pre-order, okay? Now, one thing here, so multiple choice in this case means you can only select one item. I would like people to buy everything that I offer. So I'm going to select check boxes. Drop down also allows you to just select one. So check boxes here. I'm now going to add some options, and I'm going to make this not full screen for just a few minutes, so I can get access to my files. So in here, and again, I'm a farmer's market person. I'm just going to recreate the one that I had before. Broccoli. Now, if I leave it like that, I haven't indicated to people what size it is or how much it costs. And so I think it's a good idea to say $3 a pound or whatever it is that you're offering. Now, the cool feature here, this is new over the last, I mean, it's been around for a while now, I think, but I'm going to open my files over here. These are just pictures that I have pulled together ahead of time. And I am going to add an image here. Okay, and I'm just going to pull it from this would be, I'm on a Mac, but if you were at a different one, that would be very similar. Okay, now there's an image of broccoli. Let's go, and now I could add an option. Let's say whole chickens. $10 each. Again, let's add a picture. And let's add one more, we'll say strawberry jam. We want that to be $5 a pint. Okay. And we're gonna do this here, boom, done. Now remember what I said before about our other form, or when we were looking at the other form, that is that we don't necessarily have a good option for checking this and saying I would like 2 jars of jam. And so what I think I would do in this case, again, if if they're going to order, it's going to be required that they place an order. I would go ahead and hit a plus here and say, please indicate how much of each item above you want, or something like that. You can adapt this for the language of whatever people. I'm a nerd, so it's hard. Like this isn't how. Please, this is like survey language. Please indicate how much of each item above you want. And I do think giving an example is a good idea. Example: 2 jars jam. Whoops. 1 chicken. And so again, it's got paragraph. This is more of a long answer as opposed to just a, the short one for your name or your email or whatever. So that would be how I would do that. So in the middle of the webinar, I realized that I kind of didn't mention, or I incorrectly mentioned the thing that Olivia brought up, which is a great way to, a great alternative way to deal with the number of volume ordered. Meaning, so like up here, you have to check, I want a chicken, and then you have to indicate I'd like 1 chicken, 2 pints of jam, whatever. Another option, and this will be in the form if you want to go and visit and see what it looks like. Another option would be to create 1 item per question. And so in this case here, we've got this as a drop down. This is exactly what Olivia was suggesting. Drop down item, here's how much per pound, and then it looks like this. This is how I had to enter all these different amounts. But then if you go to the preview and you scroll down, this is just one option. This is the other option down below here would be to have one of these for each item that you have. And then you can choose how much you would like. I think, the upside is it's much more straightforward. The downside is, it's going to be a longer survey if you have 10, 15, 20 items. So it's just working with whatever that you think makes the most sense for you and for your customers, and going based on that. Just wanted to insert this in because it was an important alternative that I completely glossed over. And then you just keep adding questions exactly the same way. If you wanted to add a picture in somewhere else, like so up here, for instance, I might want to add a logo or something like that. I'm going to hit my add image, and I'm going to actually drop this guy in, which is the logo for the group that I work with, Center for Crop Diversification. And now suddenly there's a big giant logo there. I don't know if that looks good or not, but it is an option. If you had a picture of your farm scene, if you just want to, this to me is a good way to help people feel like the form that you sent them is not a scam. So if you have a picture of yourself or something like that, it helps them to feel like, oh, okay, that is the person that I thought I was going to be ordering from. Again, at any point along the way, we can click up here and select preview. And now look at that. Isn't that nice? Very straightforward, very simple. Here's these things, okay? And again, I would add more information down below, make sure that we get their email and their phone number, kind of along the lines of what we did over here. So this is the form that I showed you earlier, and many of you were very kind to actually play along with my game and fill out some orders. Yeah, Kentucky Proud logo would also be good. Yep, that's a good point. Somebody said we sell maple syrup in sizes from gallon down to half pint. Is there room to add multiple items and pricing with just one picture, or do we size each item individually? So for instance, let's pop back over here and see what we can do there. So like if we did this here, let's actually edit this. And I think what you could probably do is like let's say jam instead of maple syrup instead of jam. You could do something like $10 a quart, whatever, $20 a gallon. You could do it like that. You could add them as individual items. I think, let me see if another option might be, and this is the thing is I'll just play around in here until I find something that I think might work. Let's see here. So you could also do it as maple syrup, and you could do 1 gallon, 1 half pint, $4, 1 full pint, $7. And then 1 gallon, that'd be a lot of money, right? Maybe 1 quart, $20 or something. I don't know, that's not right. Let's see, $15. I don't know. I realize these numbers don't make sense. So let's see what that looks like. So this would be its own, and if we had, let's just say that these butternut squashes are actually a picture of maple syrup for the purposes of this conversation. Let's see what that looks like. So now we've got items like the pre-order, and there would be a different question under there. And then if they wanted, you could do it that way. The downside here is if they want to order 2 pints, they're still going to have to clarify, but that would be another option. Again, we're using a simplified tool, so we have to work around some of the shortcomings, but that's a great question. Oh, thanks, Olivia. I think we're on the same track here. So yeah, I'll go ahead and mention Olivia Vogel and Katie Bowman. Both of them work for K-Card, and they are able to help provide direct support for a lot of this online stuff. Olivia, if you wouldn't mind, could you drop the how to get in contact with you in the comments there, with just K-Card in general and any other kind of information people might need? Cool. So let's pop back over to the actual place where you all played along with my game. And let's go over, so we have these questions, and that's great. We have everything set up. Let's click over to the responses. So now we have a summary of all the different responses that might come up here. And so we got the phone numbers and all that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let's just click through here so you can see what it looks like. These are just individual, whatever. That's not necessarily super helpful, but if we click on this here, it's going to take us over to a Sheets response. And Sheets is Google's version of Excel, basically. And now, as you can see here, I have a last name and first name, a phone number and an email address for each order, and then what items they're interested in. To me, this is sorry, my dog just came in. There's this in item column G here is where basically I'm forming my order list. So 15 pounds of broccoli, 25 jars of jam. Karen Smith, big supporter of the store. And you could see here, people have selected different options. And so everybody has said these different things and whether they want to be added to the list. So now, one thing that's cool, I can copy and paste these into an email list, into an actual physical email to send it out to people. So I built my list that way. I have a summary of the different orders, excuse me. So if it were me, I'd probably go through each of these and I would email the group out and say, I just wanted to make sure that we got your order and it's 1 early season veggie box for this much total money. You said you wanted to do cash at pickup. We'll see you down there. Yeah, we'll see you down there in, at whatever time. you got to remember here that you have a clear picture of how this pre-ordering system is working in your own mind, but you have to do a lot to help communicate when pickup is, all that kind of stuff. That could very easily be added in here to the description. So I have added all pickups will be at big city farmers markets on the Saturday after the order is placed. Orders must be received by Friday at 5 p.m. on the day before market. So that's another aspect here. So again, we've got now, we go over to this responses page and we can actually pull an order list. You could also download an Excel file if you prefer that. It's just, you can set it up so that you get email notifications when people respond. So that's just all up here, available here. This here is a quick button to turn off accepting orders. So right now, like if you all are on, so I'm going to turn off accepting responses. And if you go, let's go back up here. If you go to this link now, it should not allow you to give any answers. The cool thing about that is, if you're looking at my screen, I went to the form and it still shows it, as able to edit, even though you all probably can't see it, hopefully can't see it. So when I have this turned off, I'm not accepting anything new, which to me, at Friday at 5 p.m., I go over and I turn this thing off. And then on Monday, when I have a sense of what my stock is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and open up, turn this back on. But before I do that, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to edit it. So this week is over. So I can go in here and I can change this to 418. I can, make adjustments here, come down here, make any adjustments here. And I can go then pop back over here and turn this on. And you should be able to see at that link I just sent, you should be able to see now orders for 418. That will probably require some editing here. So if we go to the view responses, it's going to tell you when the order came in or when that form came in. And so the more that you once you get to a certain point, you might want to delete responses, or you might want to continue doing them, but be able to select out. But there is going to be a little bit of management here, but it is I think a lot simpler than the online store. Limited, but also simpler. Now, I can just tell you, if these orders came in and I only had a total of 25 pounds of broccoli, I may have just already oversold the amount of broccoli that I have. And so if there's limited quantities or something like that, you might want to make a note of that actually in the physical form to say, we will do our best to manage inventory, but there's limited quantities available. And if you get to the point where, okay, you're getting, let's say you set it up so that you're actually getting emails for new responses and you're monitoring this actively, you can go back over here, go into here and just delete broccoli once you've oversold it. And that should update in real time for people to be able to see it. Okay. So, that's the main overview of Google Forms, how to use it, how to set it up, what a form looks like. I appreciate you all playing along with giving me responses there. Let's see if there's, okay, a couple of examples of, I think, of ways to potentially share your product list. And again, these are, I'm just racking my brain for creative ways to do it. Let's see, is there a limit to the number of items you can list? I don't know. So that is a good point, and it's one that I talked about a little bit in the online store webinar, and that is you don't necessarily have to have your pre-order be a perfect representation of what's available at your booth if you're a farmer's market vendor or something like that. And that's part of the reason why I put in this early season veggie box. It could be if you have some hardcore customers who are interested in buying stuff and buying product, whatever, and they're interested in doing the pre-order, they want to get in and out, offering these boxes or some sort of collection of things might be a good idea. You could also do this on a market level. If you have, you know, a meat vendor and you have a cut flower vendor and you have a vegetable vendor, they all put things together and sell, you know, Wednesday night dinner box or something like that. And you could accept the order centrally for pickup and manage it that way. That's another option. But as far as, I don't know, let's just go crazy here. I feel like we should take bets on how high it goes. So 25, it looks like, at least. That's going to add a lot of complexity because the system doesn't necessarily. There may be a limit to the number of checkboxes, but you could list items by category. Yep, certainly could for different products. Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility here. Yeah, so Emily had noted, like, if you're sending in questions, make sure that in the drop-down box you have everyone selected, or all panelists and attendees, so that it sends it to everybody. Let's see here. So hopefully everybody got the Olivia's message there, the K-Card's website. It's a great way to get in contact. You can also call the direct phone, which is there in the chat, as well as the website's linked there. Yeah, so I hit 27. That's way more items than I probably would want to manage in a system like this personally. But it looks like you can go pretty high. And as Lori mentioned, so what you could do is something like, and then you could obviously get rid of the chicken, and you would then have another question down here that was like, something like that. And then you could add, you know, all the different stuff there. It's just going to be, let's see here. Yeah. So as far as, if you're this is a limited tool. It's just the reality of it. It's highly limited. What you could do is you could have these available and say, call for other colors, or email me for other colors. So, like, let's see here, if we got polished glass earrings, various colors, and they could say, you know, place order and we will follow up with you. And so if they filled out all the information and they're interested in buying this thing, you check this, you can email them, and then you can process it on the back end. And you can go ahead and show them, here's all the colors I have available, or here's photos of the things that I already have available. This is, you know, it's not really a direct ordering platform. It's more just a different way of consolidating communication. So that's probably, so for those who didn't see the question that was to everybody, her question about number of items, she's a craft vendor and has limited number of types of items, but many choices of colors, designs, etc. And so this is just, yeah, I would think about maybe doing it that way, and just knowing that you're going to have to follow up either in an email or something like that. Sweet. And if you, I mean, the online store, if it's not overwhelmingly, I don't think, you know, some people find it very complex, and I understand that and I respect that. But there is definitely opportunities there for that type of business in particular. Oh, okay, sharing your product list. I think this is going to be one of the last main things that I show you. And that is just, okay, so how do we go about getting this information out? So one way would be email. We can put this stuff in an email and send it out. We can share stuff out on social media. But I think part of this whole pre-ordering thing is going to be figuring out a way to have a menu for people to choose from. And the Google form, I'm just going to minimize this because I don't know that it's that helpful right now. The Google form is helpful because it gives them the menu built in with all the different, let's see here. Yeah, so it gives them these built-in pictures and menu. If you are going to do options 1 or 2 that we talked about earlier, you're going to take it over the phone, or you're going to take email orders, or whatever it may be. A couple of ways to do that, I think, from very basic to very, let's see here. Let's zoom out a little bit. So I did this to remind the coffee stain that I got immediately before I needed to take this picture. But this is like the most dead simple one, right? And I put different colors so you could see how it shows up. So I'm not a very talented drawer. I think, you know, to me, if I don't have any menu at all, this is a pretty good one. And so what I would do is I would pop over to my Facebook page, and I'm gonna go to my Center for Crop Diversification page here, and I am going to post the picture, and I think I have it in here. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and post this. And this is literally a photograph of the menu, and say, we are now open for online we are now open for phone pre-orders. You can pick up at Market like normal, but if you want to call ahead, blah, 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 whatever. You can structure that messaging, but you want to communicate when they're going to pick up, how they're going to pay, all that kind of stuff. Call 502-555-5555 to place your order. See photo of available items. Okay. And I'm just going to hit post, and I'm putting this on the CCD Facebook page for you all, making myself look kind of strange here. But side note, if you want to go to the Facebook page of the Center for Crop Diversification and like it, maybe. Okay. I'm just gonna refresh this. And this is what your post would look like. Again, you can take much more time than this was going real slow for me. This is kind of what your post would look like. So again, this is coming from your business social media page. You could very easily do the same thing on Instagram, as long as you can get your picture over to your phone in some way, either email it to yourself or whatever. You can post it to Instagram as well. Okay, so from there, I think another step up would be something like this. So I have just have the exact same information, and it's just typed into a Word document. Now, to me, this versus this just looks a little bit more professional. It doesn't look over the top professional, it just looks a little bit better. If you create this in like a Word document, for instance, quick tip, if you're on a Mac, you can take a screenshot by hitting Command-Shift-4, and you can take a screenshot like this. The equivalent, so I just took a screenshot, it'll save it on my desktop. The equivalent of that on a PC is it's called Snipping Tool. So it's down usually in the start menu. I use PCs and Macs both. I'm just on a Mac today. But you can use the Snipping Tool, and it will open up a similar thing, and you could take a screenshot. Screenshots, you have to be careful because you want to make sure that the quality is decent enough for what you're trying to do. So you don't want to take a screenshot of this and then try to print it on a banner or something like that. But there's a lot of times, especially if you blow up the screenshot like as big as you possibly can. Whoop, not there, view. While it's with it still being on the screen, this would take a better screenshot, and you could take it just a little bit here, whatever. And so let's go ahead and just pop over to the Facebook page, and I'll show you this. So I've now taken these, and they automatically go on my desktop the way I have it set up. But let's say I want to do Now accepting, you get the drift. Pre-orders. I can now take from my desktop over here and add a photo. I believe it's, yeah, this one here, or this. Let's do this one. And it's going to upload that nice little photo of text and hit share. Okay. And so now I'm going to reload this. Sometimes it takes a few seconds. Excuse me. Oh. And now, and I managed to take the screenshot when it was loading, of course, but this post is showing up here just like this. That looks to me pretty passable. The final option, and this is something I think we might explore in a future one of these webinars potentially. The last option here is like a really nice polished item image. Like not infographic, but just something that has some nice pictures and all. I did this in about 5 minutes in Canva. Now, admittedly, I am pretty quick on the computer and I use Canva a lot, but canva.com is a free online graphic design for dummies, including me, program. And it allows you to just lay out some stuff like this. And so let me go just over to Canva real quick and just show you. I'm not gonna show you how to use Canva right now. You can go and play around and figure it out on your own pretty quickly, I think. But I'm just gonna go ahead and download a PNG, and that's just a file type. PNG is good for a lot of web stuff. JPEGs are also fine. Let's see here. And I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna create one more post. Now accepting pre-orders. Okay, and so I'm gonna drag that over like that. Let that finish doing whatever it's doing, and I'm gonna hit post. Okay, let's refresh. And we'll scroll down. Okay. So that's, again, this is for if you're trying to do calls. Now let's just do one more thing here. I don't want to overwhelm too much, but so this is, again, this is our order form that we are going to use. Okay, so when it comes time to share the order form, we're going to get, we want to get a link address, which is the same thing from up here. I'm going to copy that. You can also hit copy if you want. And to me, if I go to Facebook and I post this kind of not so attractive long link, that doesn't look very good to me. Now you could see it popped up here and it would have a picture and all, that's great. So if you want to do that, if you just want to copy and paste that, that's great. If at any point you ever get a link like this and it's kind of a pain, you might consider going to something like bit.ly.com. There's another one called owly.com. And this is free. You don't have to get distracted by any of these buttons. Just scroll down to where here, what this is. And so if I go here and I put that in there and I hit shorten. Oh man, that was, let's go to Owly then. Let's see. Well, bit.ly used to be, that's a bummer. Well, this is going to be a dead end. Yeah, we won't do that for now. We'll just copy and paste the link. But just make sure you put in some content that shows that you are like legit. So don't just post the link and say, okay, good luck. Actually say, you know, we're doing, oh my goodness, doing our part to help slow the spread by offering online pre-order options. Visit the link below. Okay, and so if I hit post, I'll just show you what that looks like as well. Again, I'm trying to show you, not tell you, just the general principles here. So if we go, let's go ahead and refresh real quick. and scroll down. Our most recent post here is this. And again, this was the title of the form we put in. And you're just trying to get people to be able to go to the online form and place their orders as you have it set up. Couple things, as far as I know, and as far as I've been able to replicate, you can keep the link the same and just change the order, the name here, and change the other stuff. If you wanted to create a new form every week, you could. The advantage there is you would have just one sheet per week, as compared to you'd have all these, and then next week you'd have more added on to the end of it. So that's just something to keep in mind. Again, remember under the responses here, when you are done, when you don't want to get any more people asking you for this, turn this off. Now you have to anticipate that you're probably going to get some, so when you do that, some people are going to, at Friday at 11 p.m., they're going to go and click on this, and they're going to get a message that says, this isn't working. And so they're probably going to contact you and say, your form isn't working. Like, well, actually, you have to, order by 5. I think some of the information that's in here is helpful. I kind of tweaked. I'll probably go back and tweak this to get it looking nice again. But I changed some of the order stuff here as I was playing around, but I'll probably go back and get rid of that. Cool. Again, this is none of these things are going to solve your inventory tracking issues, and they're all going to require ongoing maintenance, but hopefully that's a little bit of a primer on how to maybe think about online stuff. When a customer fills out a Google form, do they get a confirmation of some sort? Good question, Lori. I'm not sure about that. My guess is no, because of how relatively basic this is, and anybody else who knows this might jump in and let us know. But I think, yeah, so when they submit it, they'll get the initial thing that says, thanks for your order. And to me, I would probably go and follow up either individually or just say, thanks, we've received your order, something like that.